And I've been in school the entire time. So
What are you studying?
right now I'm studying film and psychology.
He was 9 years old when Star Wars made him famous. By 26, he was in jail. His career destroyed, his childhood erased. He begged George Lucas not to cast him. Lucas did it anyway. Now, decades later, he has one message. Fame isn't worth it. He's not alone. 9 other celebrities learned the same brutal lesson. Quick roll call before we jump in. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Drop your location in the comments. I love seeing this classic film family stretch across the globe. Jake Lloyd was 9 when he landed the role of young Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 1. It should have been a dream. Instead, it became a nightmare. Fans hated the movie. They hated his performance, but Jake wasn't a bad actor. He was a child reading lines written by adults. The bullying started immediately. Kids at school mocked him relentlessly. Journalists tore him apart. Online forums called him the worst thing to happen to Star Wars. By 18, Jake had quit acting entirely. He destroyed all his Star Wars memorabilia, trying to erase the memory. In 2015, he was arrested following a high-speed chase. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, he spent time in psychiatric care. Jake has said he'll never watch the prequels again. The role that should have launched his career instead destroyed his life. And he's not the only child star who wishes they'd never been discovered. Edward Furlong was 13 when Terminator 2 made him a global icon. Overnight, he went from a normal kid to Hollywood's hottest young actor. But behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. His guardians allegedly mismanaged his earnings. He struggled with substance abuse. By his 20s, multiple arrests, rehab stints, and restraining orders made headlines. Edward has spoken openly about the cost. "I was a kid who had no business being in that environment," he said. The pressure, the money, the adult world he was thrown into, none of it was normal. None of it was healthy. Today, Edward still acts, but he carries the scars. He's described his Terminator 2 fame as a curse disguised as a blessing. The fame found him too young. The industry chewed him up, and the damage was irreversible. But not every child star crashes publicly. Some just disappear. Macaulay Culkin was the biggest child star on the planet. Home Alone made him a household name at 10 years old. By 13, he was earning millions per movie. Then he walked away. Macaulay's father controlled his career, his money, his life. Legal battles over his $15 million fortune tore the family apart. He legally removed his parents from accessing his trust fund. He's been blunt about his regrets. "I wouldn't wish my childhood on anybody." The fame was suffocating. The pressure is unbearable. The loss of normalcy is permanent. Macaulay eventually returned to acting on his own terms, but he's never sugar-coated the cost. Fame stole his childhood. Money destroyed his family. Success became a prison. These child stars never stood a chance. But what about adults who signed away their futures? Taylor Swift was 15 when she signed her first record deal with Big Machine Records. She was grateful just to have a chance. What she didn't know? That signature would haunt her for decades. The contract gave Big Machine ownership of her master recordings, every song she wrote, every album she poured her heart into. For years, she didn't think much of it. Then Scott Borchetta sold the label to Scooter Braun for $300 million. Taylor's entire catalog, 6 albums worth of masters, sold without her knowledge. She called it her worst-case scenario. She'd tried to buy them back. The answer was no. Her solution? Re-record everything. reclaim her art by creating new versions she actually owns. But the originals? Gone forever. Taylor has described the sale as devastating and warned young artists, read every word, understand what you're signing, because at 15, I didn't. She lost control of her life's work because of a contract she signed as a teenager. And if you think that's bad, imagine losing control of your entire life. Britney Spears was the biggest pop star in the world. Then, in 2008, a judge placed her under a conservatorship controlled by her father. She lost the right to make her own decisions. Financial, medical, personal. Everything required permission. The conservatorship was supposed to be temporary. It lasted 13 years. During that time, Britney was forced to work. She released albums, performed in Vegas, earned millions. But she couldn't access her own money, couldn't hire her own lawyer, couldn't even choose her own friends. In 2021, she finally spoke in court. I just want my life back. Her testimony was devastating. She called the arrangement abusive and said she'd been medicated against her will, prevented from removing her IUD, and punished for small acts of defiance. The conservatorship ended in 2021, but Britney will never get those years back. She lost over a decade of freedom because others controlled her fate. Sometimes losing control happens gradually. Other times, it happens in one catastrophic moment. Sinead O'Connor was at the height of her career in 1992. Her voice was legendary. Her album sold millions. Then she appeared on Saturday Night Live. At the end of her performance, she held up a photo of Pope John Paul II. She tore it in half. "Fight the real enemy," she said. The backlash was instant and brutal. Radio stations banned her music. The audience at a Bob Dylan tribute concert booed her off stage. Death threats flooded in. Her career in America was effectively over. Sinead never apologized. She stood by her protest against church abuse. But she acknowledged the cost. My career was over in one moment. One act of defiance. 15 seconds on live television. And everything she'd built was gone. But at least Sinead made a statement. Some careers end over nothing at all. Josh Hartnett was being called the next big thing. Hollywood offered him Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, roles that would have made him a franchise superstar worth hundreds of millions. He turned them all down. Josh wanted to focus on smaller, independent films. He didn't want the scrutiny that came with blockbuster fame. He thought he was protecting his sanity. Instead, Hollywood moved on. The roles dried up. By the time he reconsidered, he'd been forgotten. Josh has admitted he regrets the choice. I was being offered films that would have made me extremely wealthy, he said. I turned my back on it. He chose privacy over fame. But what he got was irrelevance. Sometimes it's what you say no to that destroys you. Other times, it's who you trust. Thora Birch was a talented young actress. Ghost World, American Beauty. She had critical acclaim and a bright future ahead. Then her father, Jack Birch, allegedly began interfering on set. Reports claim he insisted on being present during intimate scenes, made unreasonable demands, and created hostile working environments. Productions started refusing to hire her. Roles vanished. Her career stalled in her 20s. Thora has remained largely silent about the situation, but the damage speaks for itself. She went from rising star to Hollywood outcast, not because of her choices, but because of someone else's control. Trust the wrong person, and they can destroy everything you've worked for. But some regrets aren't about one choice. They're about accepting a role that never lets you go. Daniel Radcliffe was 11 when he was cast as Harry Potter. Over the next decade, he filmed 8 movies, earned millions, and became one of the most recognizable faces on Earth. Then, the series ended, and Daniel faced a problem. Nobody could see him as anyone else. He took the most extreme roles he could find: a farting corpse, a demon-possessed man, a naked stage performance in Equus. He was desperate to prove he wasn't just Harry Potter. Daniel has called the typecasting frustrating and admitted the shadow of the role follows him everywhere. He's worked constantly to escape it, taking bizarre projects just to show range. He's grateful for the opportunity. He's financially set for life, but he's also trapped. Every role is compared to the boy wizard. Every performance judged against a character he played as a child. Success gave him everything and locked him in a cage he'll never fully escape. But if Daniel's struggle is ongoing, one actress suffered something far darker. Shelley Duvall was a unique talent, quirky, captivating. Then Stanley Kubrick cast her in The Shining. The shoot was a nightmare. Kubrick allegedly subjected her to psychological torment to get authentic fear on camera. Take after take after take. 127 takes of one scene. He reportedly isolated her, criticized her relentlessly, made her cry for real. The role broke something in Shelley. After The Shining, her career slowed. Her mental health declined. By the 2010s, she'd retreated from public life entirely. In a controversial interview, she appeared confused and unwell. The world was watching her unravel. Shelley has said she doesn't regret the role, but others wonder if the cost was too high. The performance was brilliant. The process was devastating. Some roles demand everything, and sometimes they take even more. The question is, was any of it worth it? 10 careers, 10 regrets. And these are just the ones who spoke up. How many others are suffering in silence?